great to have you back on the program. It's still Good Morning, Anambra. And right about now, we're going to be discussing a very important topic. And of course, you know that the just concluded election just happened over the weekend. And we're going to be talking about the expectations from members of the 9th Anambra National House of Assembly. Let's quickly introduce the guests we have today. Expectations from the 7th ANHA. We've got Chief Edozie Ezogwa, SSA to Governor Obiano on legislative matters. Good to have you on the programs.
Thank you so much. Good morning. Anambra.
And of course, we have pharmacist Obinna Emenaka, member representing Anambra East, Anambra House Committee Chairman on Finance and Appropriation. Good to have you on the program.
Yeah, good morning, Anambra.
All right, let's quickly start up with what happened over the weekend. We know it was a massive victory, but first let's get to know what are the lessons there for us to learn as regarding the just concluded Anambra State House of Assembly elections.
Well, let me begin by thanking the government and the people of Anambra State for the peaceful conduct of this election. I thank the Anambrarians. At least we are now proceeding to a point where we will always decide what happened. And I use the opportunity to urge them to let us consolidate on the success made so far. Anambra is now changing. It's no longer the period of snatching the ballot boxes and all kinds of vandalisms. And I pray that the peace brought by His Excellency Chief Dr. Willie Obiano will continue to be sustained in Anambra State. Now, going back to your questions you've asked me, a lot of expectations on the 9th Assembly. People are coming. We hope that members are going to sustain the peace, and so far the success we have already as regard the other outgoing members.
All right, before we go into that proper, let's come to you, Honorable. How will you assess the whole process? Would you say that you were satisfied with the things that went down on Saturday?
Yes. I must. I'm impressed because of the confidence I have in our party, APOGA, All Progressive Grand Alliance. And I will also thank the people of Anambra State for reposing such confidence in our great party. It is true that the first stage of election did not meet up with the expectation of Anambra because of certain factors, which gave negative prediction by people. But what happened a few days ago, is a confirmation and testimony that APGA is the only party to beat in Anambra State. And I want to still continue to urge in the Anambra State to continue to support APGA, which is the only party that we have in Anambra State.
Okay, beautiful. Away from what really happened during the election, the Anambra State House of Assembly election, would you say that INEC really were on top of their game?
Yeah, in any big project like that, you'll always have hiccups here and there, but they are making progress anyway. And this time around, and now people, especially the contestants, knows that if you are going to win, you must go back to people and they seek the mandate and work with the people and show reasons why you are going to be elected in office. Because gone are those days when you feel that you can now come up and write results and all those things like that. So there's improvement from the old system as we are progressing now. No matter whatever, conducting election project is not a day job. It requires a lot of things, and especially in Nigeria, up to 200 million, people, you must expect a lot of things. But the most important thing is that we must be consolidating the successful record. Then as we proceed, we'll be able to look at those areas we have not been able to address. Then we can be able to, address it as we move.
So what are those areas that you think INEC should really work on as regards subsequent elections in Nigeria?
Well, I consider again the logistics, being able to, in time, put every material at the appropriate positions where it's supposed to be. And the timing matters a lot. If you say that we are going to start by 8 o'clock, you must be there. All the officials must be there by 8 o'clock, dot. Then we look at these issues of card leader or something. It's very good. We can use it to tame some injustices. But at the same time, the machine must be seen to be working anyway. Then these other ones, people, security men behaving one way or the other. Because when you see a security man trying to be partisan, then that is where people will now, yes, and they will go out of their way to show a kind of protest anyway.
Okay, let me come to you, Honorable. You've been in the House for 8 years. Away from, before we come to the expectations and what we're expecting from the 7th Anambra House of Assembly, what has it been so far in the House? How's the journey been? The challenges, the success, the victories. How's it been for you in the House over the 8 years you've been in the House?
Well, thank you. Over the 8 years, or let me say 7 years, we've spent in the House of Assembly was interesting and evolving. Interesting in the sense that, when you look at the statutory functions of a legislator, making of laws, and power of conducting investigation, you see yourself shaping or reshaping what the executive had put down in place to help Anambra State get to the right place. So you see yourself playing a key role by way of representing your people. There were also hiccups where you go to your constituency and make some promises, and when you come back, it is not what you think you can attract that you attract. Because of what? Because of also the policy of the state government. But by and large, it was challenging and impressive. 8 years of sustaining the blueprint of the executive. Another thing again is you can have an effective representation when the executive, when you have an organized executive. A good example is what we are seeing in the government of the day, ably, represented by Chief William Madabrochkobion. It's an organized government with clear mission and vision, where you have the economic engines and the enabler. So, as a legislator, you now have a direction where how you can now oversight or monitor those programs to make sure that, what they have is properly, implemented by way of oversight. So,
there's this fear. A lot of people are really talking about the fact that in the Anambra State House of Assembly, 30 seats, APGA actually swept 24, which is massive, good victory. But some people are feeling that with more of APGA members in the House, do you think it's healthy for the politics in Anambra State?
Well, I have to tell you the truth. You see, what determines government is the party and the blueprint of the executive. And APGA, has a manifesto, its own manifesto. The same thing with, the executive. What is driving us is the manifesto of the party and also the direction and the exposure of the person who is at the helm of affairs, anchoring it on the same manifesto. So if you have 30 members, it makes it easier and better because you already have the manifesto to implement. That is not to say that, you see, I've always said that fair politics and honest debate are one of the strongest pillars of democracy. If you have 60-40, it could be interesting and challenging on the floor of the House where, the majority will always come up with their manifesto and the opposition will. That makes it interesting, but I can tell you that if you look at the manifesto of APOGA, what they intend to achieve, and when you now have 24 members or 30 members coming from that, same party, it will help to domesticate and domicile that manifesto, which is very key to the beneficiary who is our constituents or the constituency. Yeah.
All right,
so it has its own very good benefits.
The advantage is more than the disadvantage.
Yes.
All right, let's come to you, Chief. Still on the same road that ANHA is taking. Before the election, the governor clamored that the electorate should vote en masse for APGA. And now we've seen the results because it's 24/6. That's how I call it, 24/6. Now, what are we to expect from the 8th Assembly? 7th Assembly.
Yeah, people, expecting a lot from them, from the 7th Assembly. And I know that there is still some, executive bill that is, remaining, another one that is going to, be present. And I know that the people who are coming are the people that have, been insistent. Some of them have been members before, some of them are new ones. And the most important, the beauty aspect of it is that the old ones that are returning are many of them. So they can be able to, frame up well, and they will not have a hiccup as we take off. So most, important thing is that the peace have already set, as a basis in Anambra State House of Assembly will be sustained. And as such, I don't think we are going to have any other distance, any other, you know what I mean?
Okay, good. Let's move on. We know that before this election, the National Assembly election, and of course the State House of Assembly election, there were reports. There was this reports making the round that some APGA members were aggrieved, and as such, it was actually going to affect the elections. But with the turnout and results of the election, it looks as if that story is false. But in as much as I want to also believe that there are some members who probably not happy with the way things are in the party. Now, looking at APGA as a body that has come this far, so successful in the just concluded election, what are their plans to really reshape the party and, of course, bring everyone together?
I think that one is self-explanatory, and it's always natural for you to see aggrieved persons. But one thing that is important is for people to understand the supremacy of the party. Once the party decides, everybody is bound to adhere to the decision of the party. And don't forget that, we've had people.
Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Yeah. I'm calling from Ogidi.
You're calling from Ogidi? What's your name?
The one Papa asked me to give me your number.
What is your name?
Emmanuel.
Emmanuel from Ogidi. All right, go ahead with your contributions.
Sir, the man said that the line will...
Probably, I think is actually calling a wrong number. Well, we'll be right back. We need to go for a short break. Let's go to hear what people feel, the expectations of what the 7th Anambra State House of Assembly would actually give to the people. And when we return, we'll hopefully come back to our guests to tell us more about it. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
I expected them, to cooperate with the governor and then continue from what the governor have done so far in December.
The people are expecting them to be at work, all desk at work. Not just because you won under your party, should not just make you wake up in the morning, you want to do everything on your own. Get others along. Everyone should play along and have it at the back of your mind that the people place their hope on you. So whoever elected into office, you have it at the back of his mind that the people are expecting much, because to whom much is given, much is expected.
Expectation to each and every one of them is to execute their job, their assignment, and make sure that everybody is happy.
If I not Abu, if I not Abu, Kabamal Abu Mad, Tineba Bao, now again, well, line a
My expectation is that they would cooperate with the governor, sitting governor, that Willie Obiano, who has done excellently well, so that they will continue from where the last assembly, House of Assembly, where they stopped. That is now they will carry Anambra State forward.
What I expected from the newly elected people in the position right now is just when they were campaigning, they said some promises. I want them to still stand on their promises, because the poor masses that came out and voted for them expect something from them.
Yeah, they expect from those people who are elected, people who are Kahamarona, Hana Governor, Kahajika Konu, May State Yanya, Kabulu State Amat, Kolo Hana, Lokahawalo Fobi, Wana, Kahana Chodimma, Kendi State, Kahamano, the Madity, Hano, Hano, Halua Bawana, East constituency or local government has to know where, but the Hama only here no, will you down. Gabana house someone. Well, you had a respect from them. Higher all over, or the monkey or the monkey they represent.
They have been performing very well before, so this time around, this new tenure, we expect them to perform better. At least get to maximum population of Anambrarians who are expecting better governance from them this time around. We wish them all the best.
They are expected to touch so many areas, so many sectors in this state, like security. We are not too sure of security these days. The educational sector, more importantly, and then the judiciary. These are the three main sectors they need to work on. They must bring in bills that will enhance, that will touch these sectors.
It's always good to hear from the people on the streets and, of course, get their own opinions on it. We're still in the studios and talking about the expectations from the 7th Anambra House of Assembly. And let me quickly come to you. People have said, one of the people on the street says the members have been doing well before and they expect them to do better. So I'm asking you now, what are the expectations for Anambra, the people they've elected to serve them, to make these laws at the 7th House of Assembly?
Well, thank you. It's very important to, highlight on the three cardinal functions of a legislator, so that the Anambra will expect, the right thing from the legislators. If you understand the duty of the person representing you, then you can now forecast or accelerate what you can get from the person. Number one is, the number one basic function of a legislator, just like I said, is making of laws, as enshrined in Section 100 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999. Power of making laws exercised through bills, sponsoring of bills. Then motions can also come in. Then the second one is power of conducting investigation, that is, oversighting the executive. That is also in Section 128 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, where you now make sure and also ensure that what the governor had presented in his blueprint, are properly, deployed and utilized. Then the third one is residency advocacy. I think that is where the legislators and the people that are representing are having, some misunderstanding, where an average constituent would want to see you, would always want you to engage them, which is not out of place. So at a particular point in time, it's important that you go to your constituency and give them an update of what is happening in the government, and also hear from them so that you can go back to the government. So if you understand these three basic functions of the legislator, amongst other functions, then you will now agree with me that the expectation of Anambra should be that the legislators of the 7th Assembly, where you have some old members who are now ranking members that won election, should be for the legislators to have synergy effective collaboration with the executive, because it takes two to tango.
Okay, you're going.
Under the principles of separation of power, the legislator is a separate arm of a government. That is, they are independent. But in reality, they are interdependent. What it means is that the legislature cannot function with the executive, just like the executive cannot function with the legislature. So if they synergize, then your constituents, will now benefit more. If you look at the 2019 budget that was just passed, you agree with me that the key things needed by every other person, were highlighted there. Talking about road works, infrastructure, talking about empowerment of youth, over 10,000 youth, talking about education, talking about the Anambra State Insurance Scheme, where in road work infrastructure, over 22 billion was earmarked. The same thing with education, over 19 billion. The same thing with the youth empowerment, over 2 billion, and other funds. Now, these projects are what our people need, and our role is to make sure and ensure that we prevail on the state government, the executive, to get them this.
Let me pause you there. Do you buy what he's saying? What do you think are the expectations, your expectations and the expectations of Anambra from the members that have been elected into the House?
Well, our expectations cannot be, different from what we used to have before anyway. We expect that the 7th Assembly is going to be peaceful and work, like he mentioned, synergy with the executives. And then we Anambarians must be able to cooperate with them, cooperate with the government, cooperate with the members too, because we needed to, because issues of the business of the house is not only you sitting down and you must have to, sometimes come up with some of the suggestions or some of the private, what they call private bills, lies with their constituency members. These are what we are thinking, and that kind of thing. They can come, for instance, through his own constituency. If we're in a well-organized system, they can approach him. This is what we have, this is what we have, and this kind of things, and look at these things and see how we can, put it. It does happen anyway. So the expectation is that we Anambarians, the government, the people of Anambra State, we must, and the Anambra State House of Assembly, we must realize there's need for us to work together for us to achieve that success we are looking up for. Because since the coming of this government, under the leadership of Dr. Willie Obiano, Anambra has changed. If you cast your mind back, what we used to see before, a lot of things have changed. And a lot of program comes into existence with what the Excellency have for the people of Anambra State in terms of, you mentioned road networks, agriculture, at least feeding ourselves. There's a lot of packages on that. We must learn to how we are going to feed ourselves beside the ones we are going to take out of the state. Then so many other projects, empowering the youths. These are the things. We must have a patience with the government or two, because what you can see him doing is based on the revenues we have. We can generate here, then whatever comes up, if there is peaceful, existence, then we expect them to generate revenues. Because why I'm mentioning this is that in terms of the federal level, that what we are always, depending on is oil. Once oil, behave or fluctuate in any distance, it affect the economy, particularly the revenue generations as a whole. And if we are getting, like, for instance, our allocations used to be 5 or 6 or 10 billion, when we start getting 1 or 2 billion, come down like this, people will be shouting, pushing all kinds of pressure, and Excellency cannot manufacture this. It depends on what is available. So the people of Anambra State should be able to exercise a patience with him and the members of the Anambra State Council.
Personally, Honorable, now your constituents have said, okay, you can go again. You should go again and represent us. So what are you going to do? Personally, I'm not asking you to better their lives, to make the lives of your constituents better. Because most of them complain that at the end of the day, these politicians will come to us for us to vote for them, but after they have won the election, they disappear. We don't see them again.
Well, let me seize this opportunity to thank the peace-loving people of Anambra is for re-electing me again for the third time, not second, but third time. Yeah, and it means a lot. And he's sending a great message. And this time around, what I'll do is to seriously engage with my people to identify those areas I was not able to cover. Like I've always told them, that if you go to every community that make up Anambra is, you must see a visible project attracted by myself, from the government. Name it water borehole, market, what do you call it, town hall, empowerment through education, scholarships, and what have you. But this time around, there are other villages or some wards that I was not able to touch, that I will also extend, the dividends of democracy to them. But most importantly, sustain, the peace we have in Anambra East, because peace is sustainable.
All right. Thank you so very much. We really can go on and on talking about the expectations. Of course, we'll get to see as time goes on this program. I want to say a very big thank you to Chief Dozie Ezugwa, as I say, to the governor on legislative matters. Many thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much.
And of course, Pharmacist Ubin Emenaka, member representing Anambra East in the State House of Assembly, and also a House Committee Chairman on Finance and Appropriation. Good to have you on the program.
And then we want to congratulate you too.
Yeah, thank you so much. I want to urge Anambrians to continue to support the governor of Anambra State, and of course, this great party that has brought development to Anambra, APGA. APGA is still the party to beat in Anambra. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Well, as time goes on, we'll get to see more and more expectations regarding the members we have elected into the House to make the laws and, of course, lead us in the process. Many thanks for joining us on this part of the program. We'll be right back. Good morning, Anambra continues. Don't go anywhere.
Don't go anywhere.